Good evening, Russ.
Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Good.
I had some questions for you, I'm thinking. From like the perspective of somebody like me who has less experience in the comic book game as compared to someone of such high status as yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm thinking of being like a representative for the noobs, all of the noobs out there.
You're fully aware that I am a self-appointed head geek here.
Ooh,
This is a title
true.
I made for myself.
That is official.
Right. Tom has christened me comic book sensei, but head geek is the one that I gave to myself. And it's just like calling myself king potentate of comic book land.
Yeah, all three of those are good options. Before we get further, though,
Okay.
you guys should head down, like and subscribe. We're also going to be doing a few more of these throughout, I think, in the future. So ask some questions for Russ yourself. We might just get to those in the upcoming videos. He's a fountain of knowledge, as you're about to see.
I am
Lots of fun.
full of things, may not be knowledge.
That was my first question.
That's okay.
What is inside of you?
Blood and guts and 70% water.
What is that smell?
Protein drinks. Almonds.
I like that.
Marzipan.
Marzipan. So I'm thinking, like, you walk into a comic shop, right? You see all these comics all over the place.
Sure.
How many comics would you say come out every week, like on average?
The average week, there's probably, it's between 300 and 500 releases, and we don't get all of them.
No, you can't, right?
No,
Like,
but there's a stunning amount of releases that come out every single week. And if you really look into the indie and the trade paperbacks and the statues and the games and the t-shirts and all of the above, I mean, as far as diamond SKUs, we've got something like 6,500 SKUs that come out about every month. So when you're flipping through your diamond catalog and you're flipping through your previews and you've got 450 pages of stuff you never knew you needed, understand that every single one of those SKUs is an item that is supposedly coming out between, example, November 1st and November 30th. So there's a lot coming out. So your shop may not be getting everything. I know I don't order everything because there's a lot of stuff in there that just won't sell.
So what kind of like process do you use then to determine what to pick and what not to order?
Well,
because that seems like that would be one of the more difficult parts of running
it's
a
very
shop.
difficult. It varies. Part of it is looking into my crystal ball. Part of it is talking to the people at the shop. It's part intuition. Really, it is. I mean, you look at a book and you're like, all right, who's the writer? Okay, it's Donny Cates. Is Donny Cates doing well? Great. Do I have people reading his stuff? Yes. Okay. Do I think that a Donny Cates Venom book that's a mini series? Probably. Okay. How many do I have on the list?
Yeah.
I have 12 people who are getting Venom now. Do I think it's going to sell better? All right, let's bump it up to 20. Oh, there's a 1 in 25 variant. Let's bump it up to 25. So sometimes it's as easy as I know what's going to sell, and sometimes it's I don't know. There are titles that used to be popular, like Avengers. I used to have 15, 20 people reading it. No one is reading the new Avengers run. So I've scaled back a lot. For the most part, if I have over 120 box customers at my shop right now, and if I only have 3 or 4 people getting one book, I might order 1 extra copy for the wall. I'm not going to go crazy and buy 10 copies of something or 25 copies of something if it's a book that's not selling. So part of it is that we have to have people come in and tell me that they want this book. And then at the same point in time, I have to have the feeling of, do I think it's going to sell? And I've been wrong many times, but there's also points in time that I know other shopkeepers that bought 100 copies of something that didn't sell so well, and it's in their quarter bin.
Because, that leads to something else I was thinking of. Like, you walk in a comic shop, and it varies to how many boxes of back issues there are. But
yeah.
So something, you get like a new issue, right? And it doesn't sell for whatever reason, and you just move it to the bins?
Well, one of the things that we do with those is, so pretty much I have a few different places on the wall. I have the new comics. Right. I have last week's comics. I have last month's comics. And anything older than a month goes into the half-off bin. So I have a lot of recent stuff that goes into the half-off bin. But we also have a lot of great newer comics that are going into the mystery mail call at geekstreet101.com because we know there's great new comics that just may not have hit at our shop, but you may like. Absolutely. So check that out and pick it up.
It's always a good idea.
Absolutely.
Geekstreet101.com, of course.
Right. 20 years ago, in the Seattle area, there were a lot of stores that were doing back issues. And you would walk in and they would have nice vintage stuff on the walls. And you'd see Golden Age and you see Silver Age. And there was Triple C and there was Bigfoot and there was Xanadu and there was Psycho 5. And there was a bunch of these stores that you would just go around Seattle and they would have these. And then about 15 years ago, maybe a little bit farther than that, you had this company called Comic Stop. And Comic Stop are the ones that started Emerald City Comic Con. I mean, they're big people in the Seattle area. And when Comic Stop came out, they completely and totally changed the Seattle face of what happened in comic book stores. And I know this is happening across the country. Before that, you had people who had back issue bins. And you would go in and you would have 30 years of back issues and you would dig through and look at all the Superman, pull out the one issue you want. Comic Stop had kind of minimalized it. You go in, you have the recent issues, you have the trade paperbacks, you have t-shirts and statues, and that's about it. There's not a whole lot more than that, but you also aren't dealing with, hey, do you have 25 years of Detective Comics because I need this one issue to complete my run? Collectors were shifting. Collectors were moving away from the I need every single issue of 300 to 400 of Amazing Spider-Man to complete my run of Todd McFarlane into, Death of Aunt May, and more into the key collectors, the people who just want first appearance of Deadpool. Right. They don't want the rest of New Mutants. They don't want to read the rest of it. They just want that one. So they notice the shift in that. So my store's a little bit back to the way it used to be. We're one of the only places in town that even buys vintage back issues. I know that I have other stores that get recommended. They will recommend collections to me because we do the vintage back issues and no one else does. So we get a lot of stuff that other people aren't.
My first comic shop was the Comic Stop, actually. And
okay.
That was my experience walking in there. The majority of it was wall of current comics.
And it's very cool for people who just want to come in and read the most recent thing. And it's great for people who are getting into collecting. And it is just a very easy way to dip your toe in.
Yes.
But when you realize how many layers there can be and how deep you want to go. I mean, that's why I think digital is such a great thing right now, because on Comixology, on the Marvel, you can have the opportunity for your monthly fee. You can read more of these comics that, I mean, how many Amazing Spider-Man Ditko comics do you own, Ryan?
0.
Right, but how many can you read on the Marvel Unlimited? All of them.
Exactly.
Right? And that's a great thing, to be able to go deeper and farther. And I know there's not as many shops in town that you're able to walk into and pick an ASM number 5 off the wall, but there are a few of them. And I try to be one of those.
I was going to say,
right?
You want to be at that point.
Yes.
You got a little wall there too. Some bangers, I would say.
There's always good stuff on it, but again, most of it's going to Tom for Mystery Mail Call now.
Of course. Such is life.
Right.
That's how it's done here. So what about when there's a new comic coming out? I had this experience with the Fantastic Four relaunch. I came in and I said, Russ, I want this book. It's coming out in a couple months. Put me down. Fantastic Four. I want to get that from now on. What is the process like? What do you do when someone comes in and says, I want that book?
I have a Word document. I have a spreadsheet. And then I have a checklist.
Right.
And again, everything is filled out in triplicate to make sure, and I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but everything is filled out in such a manner that someone comes in and says, hey, I want to add this to my list. I will add it on the list. I will add it on the spreadsheet. And then when I go and do my orders, I make sure that there's parity between the first two. I have the written list that I'm double. I have the spreadsheet that tells me that I'm ordering 14 copies of Fantastic Four. And then when I finally turn in the order, I'll say there's 14 copies. We'll bump it up to 20 because I think this will be a banger. You know? A lot of it is that when someone comes in and asks for comics, the farther lead time you give me, the more likely you're going to get what you want. When I have someone who sends me an email 3-4 days before a comic comes out, it's very difficult for me to get you the 1 in 25 variant, or sometimes even the alternate cover, because I may not have ordered it. Diamond always has their comics come out 8 weeks lead time.
Okay.
And my due date for November is September 22nd.
So you really got to get ahead. You really got to be aware of what's coming.
One of the great things now is that we have Twitter and Instagram, and all of these writers and all of these artists are going on Twitter and Instagram and talking about, I've got this thing coming out in February. Great. Let me know now. I may not be able to order it until December, but if you know that this is coming out in February, and you know that Tom King was super excited about this thing that he talked about on, the Joe Rogan show, whatever.
Exactly.
But if he's excited about it and he's talking about how great he wants this, let me know. As soon as you know that variant's going to be cool, as soon as you want it, let me know, because the more time I have, the more likely I'm going to be able to get it for you.
Excellent.
Because I can't read minds. I try, but I can't.
I have been doing it correctly.
It's good.
That is good to hear.
Yes.
That means that like you really got to like take a risk that people are when they say I want, Fantastic Four #1, you got to hope that they don't like forget or something, especially if it's a few months away, like that they don't forget or lose interest or just stop coming in.
Oh, absolutely. And I do fairly regularly have to send out emails and nudge people and remind them because when the comics come in on Tuesday and us get them ready for Wednesday, I have to write a check to Diamond that day. So if I had 677 comics come in today and I had to write a check for just over $1,500 for all of those comics. Damn. Well, that means that hopefully between Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I have those people picking up their comics because a lot of boxes are being filled. Batman Damned came out. The Return of Wolverine comes out. I mean, a lot of great stuff, but we're having to spend money out of pocket, So if you're picking up your comic books, if you're picking up your comic books, it helps the shop.
That's the idea.
Yep.
Help your local comic shops. Buy your comics when you say you want them.
Yes, definitely.
Common courtesy. So yeah, don't forget, like and subscribe this video if you want to stay up to date with all of the craziness we got going on in here. And we are going to continue this conversation in the future. So it would behoove you to post your own questions down below, and we should obviously get to those in future videos.
Definitely make sure you post whatever questions you want to ask me down below. And as always, geek responsibly.
Enough said. I'm here at MillGeekComics picking up my comics because it's Wednesday. You should always be picking up your comics on Wednesday. Special shout out to JB Comics 00, Certified Comic Shop, Julia May 101, and Ag Salad for repping our awesome Geek Responsibly shirts.